the vulnerability on stage and how it can help other people. Can you explain that just a little bit? Because I think there's vulnerability, obviously, with your birthmark and other people that can relate to just people looking at them a certain way, but also your solo show that you do, it is really, really vulnerable and it can help people. How did you feel comfortable being that vulnerable on stage, and how does it help you?
So the solo show is about how I have a history of cheating in a lot of my relationships. And I say for the record, cheating is always bad. It always hurts somebody. The solo show does not condone cheating at all, but I do think it happens all the time and nobody ever talks about it, and not talking about it doesn't make it go away. And I think that if we wanted, I think I sort of see it as parallel or on the same family tree as addiction, where it's like, if we wanted something like this to stop, we would want people to talk about it.
That's how you break a stigma. That's how you end an addiction. Yes,
exactly. So that's what the solo show is. And I went into it being like, oh, I'm really good at being vulnerable. I'm so in touch with why I make the decisions I make and whatever. And then I developed the show for 6 months, and it took me. I mean, now I've been doing the show for a year and a half, basically, and but those first 6 months, it took me months to be able to say the hard things and to be able to say like shit that, I mean, just saying I have cheated a bunch automatically makes me unlikable. I know that, especially as a woman. I think from a man, people are like, people are like, oh, I fucking knew it, but it's also sort of like more expected, and like good women are not supposed to have desires like that and whatever. That's a whole other conversation. Anyway, come see the show. But like just saying that automatically makes me unlikable, but there's like so many more layers of unlikable but honest realities that are involved with a behavior pattern like that.
Yeah.
And it took me a long, long, long time to be willing to say some of the like darkest, most dangerous stuff. But before I was saying the dangerous stuff, I would leave the show and people would be like, hey, funny show. And I was like, ugh, that's not the reaction that I think this show should be getting, that I think I'm capable of as a performer and as a writer, that I think the material like should be eliciting. And then I started to say the more dangerous stuff, and people would be like, Chloe, what you have done, you know? But it's that like we all have dangerous opinions and habits and behaviors and mindsets, and like we are all sort of magneted toward some very dark thing.
Yeah.
I call it, to me, it's like I had this, and whatever, I'm now in a very happy, very monogamous relationship with a person who saw this show before we started dating, and we talk about relationship stuff all the time. We talk about like electricity with another person all the time. It's like very, very open, and it's the healthiest relationship I've ever been in.
The relationship's not open, the way you guys talk.
Correct. Exactly. No, the relationship is like very closed. Although people hear that I have this whole show and men are like, well, then she's not off limits. And I'm like, fuck off. Yes, I am. Anyway. But the, wait, what was I?
The vulnerability on stage, feeling comfortable getting dark.
Yes, in the show, I talk about like I have a thing inside of me, and that in all of these past relationships, I would just put the thing in a cage and throw a blanket over the cage and hope that it goes to sleep, and it always did for a while. And then eventually it would wake up.
Yep.
Sooner or later. And every time I just kept being like, back in the cage, throw a blanket over it and hope. Just hope that this time it doesn't wake up. And I think that everybody has something in their cage. It might not be, it doesn't have to be cheating. They can be completely monogamous, not have a problem with that at all.
Yeah.
Everybody has something like that. And I think that, to be honest about, art is to reflect life back to people. Any form of art is to make people feel seen and to make people be able to examine themselves in a way that is like, it gives them a conduit outside of themselves to look back at themselves, so that they don't just have to sit there in fucking therapy and be like, and why do I feel sad about myself? You know, like watching art like lets you externalize those kind of feelings or experiencing art. And I think that that's the more vulnerable, the more people are able to identify something that is in themselves that would be, it's like the scarier the thing that I'm identifying, the scarier the thing that they're identifying, which means it's the rarer opportunity for them to identify it themselves.
Well, it sounds like you, I'm not assuming anything here, just
This
is my mini therapy session with you.
Yeah. I love it.
This is you unpacking trauma from past relationships that you had never unpacked before, and you're doing it.
And trauma that I've inflicted.
Oh, that too, yes.
Yeah.
Through a therapeutic way of writing this show. Like, that seems like this was like huge for you to just finally unpack all this shit.
Totally. And I think that that's not an insignificant reason of why my current relationship is why I am able to be so much healthier in this relationship is having done this show, because I then spent months, like every day thinking about my own bad patterns so that I could then say it to an audience. Yeah, totally. No, I feel like I'm not a different person after doing this show, having done the show, but like I have a very different view of myself and my own patterns in a way that I thought I was like, I know everything. I journal all the time. My mom and I did processing time. I'm so in touch with why I do the things I do. And then like did the show and I was like, I had not realized a bunch of shit.
You didn't unpack it yet.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a very direct question that's like, I will see, you might tell me to fuck off.
Yeah, let's see.
Why do you think you cheated so much?
You should come see the show. That's
I guess,
kind of the whole point of the show.
All right, well then I'll have to figure it out.
The short version is, I wish, and I talk about this in the show, I wish that I had a like one big reason. I wish that I was the like loose cannon cop with nothing to lose, and his wife got murdered, and that's why he can now do bad things, and we can understand why he does bad things because he's sad. It's not. I don't think that's how real people are. Even like Fleabag is a show that like made such a massive impact on me. I love it so much. I think it's one of the greatest TV shows ever made. And in that show, the character has this, like, she is behaving badly because her mom died and then she feels responsible for her friend's death. Sorry, spoiler alert if you haven't seen this show from 7 years ago. And it's like, those are two incredibly clear narrative reasons that we can, like, pin and be like, that's why this bad person does bad things. And I just do not fucking think that that's how most people operate. And I actually think that the majority of people who go through some like massive trauma, if they can come out the other side, wind up actually like as better, wiser, more grounded people.
Yeah.
And that the people who behave badly are kind of like, it's like I bring like, here's my basket of like shitty little reasons of like relationship with my dad that in some ways is so wonderful and in some ways is really difficult, and a relationship with my body where I like felt fat my entire life but was never actually like obese, was overweight but was never like actually obese. So it's like, who the fuck are you to say you felt fat? Shut the fuck up. Everybody feels pudgy in high school, but also like that's still how it is, you know, like that still impacts. And like thing on my face that in some ways made me feel so outside of normality, but in some ways I like metabolized really easily. It's like all of this weird, you know, and like, so I never felt like conventionally attractive to men. And then when I realized that I could like use being funny and charming and direct and kind of like edgy to get male attention, even though I felt heavy and I had a birthmark and whatever, then I was like, this is the drug that I've never been able to do before. And now I can get this external validation because I don't have this, like, I'm good at internally validating myself on some things, but not on others. This is the, you know, like that kind of like attractiveness is what I felt like I was missing. And anyway, all of this, it's like, that's my weird patchwork quilt of like, what are the whys here? And also then early, the first time I cheated, I tried to break up with my boyfriend right after, and he said no. And he didn't know that I was cheating. He just was like, no, let's stay together. And I was too young to know that I could walk. And so I stayed, and I learned that it was easier to cheat and hide than to go through the hard thing of being like, now we have to break up.
Right.
I mean, it's like, but it's like,
I'm not clipping this to make you sound like an asshole cheater. Like, I just was genuinely curious.
Totally. But what I'm saying is like, it's a million and I also cut this all out so that people have to come see the show.
Sorry, I don't.
It's like a million little bad reasons, right? It's
Right.
but that's like, it's like, why did you drink? Why were you an addict? Is it because you had a family member do one big bad, or like because you were in a big tragic car accident when you were a kid? Probably not. No. Probably it's a bunch of weird little stupid shitty reasons that all should be manageable,
right?
But they coalesce into whatever this like hard nut of shame is inside of you, and then you're like, I don't want to do that. I want to do this other thing that feels way better and that I've learned how to make work. Most critically, I have learned how to make this bad system work and not implode my life.